Hi everyone, this is Allison Henson. I'm going to be facilitating session 12, chapter 30 about counseling families, and this chapter was written by Sydney Moon. A little bit of an overview. There are two basic ways to counsel families. One of them is parent guidance and one of them is family therapy. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each one of those, as well as some applications to families of gifted children and some family therapy models and parent guidance counseling models. So some ways to do either one of those. Over here on the left, I have a quote from the chapter that says, "Neither type of family counseling has been extensively researched. Most of the literature on family counseling is characterized by formal clinical reports, case studies, and theoretical speculation." So, like I said just a second ago, there are two types of family counseling for families of gifted students. One is parent guidance, and another is family therapy. The first one we're going to talk about is parent guidance. Now, parent guidance could take several forms. It could be school counseling, it could be school psychology, it could be career development. This comes from a developmental perspective, not a therapeutic one. So you're more of a teacher if you're working with parent guidance than a physician. You're not trying to fix them, you're not trying to help, well, you are trying to help them, but you're not trying to solve any problems. You're more trying to teach about solutions. So it's focused on prevention of social and emotional problems through timely early intervention. The most commonly used model of parent guidance is this three-step model where first you assess the individual traits, then you interpret those test results, and once you've interpreted the test results, you recommend further action. So, some applications to families of gifted children. There are a lot of different ways to use parent guidance. One of them is just by presenting the problems. This mainly addresses school issues, parenting concerns, and social emotional development. And there is some literature that talks about family relationships, but as we'll find with a lot of this, there's not a lot of literature and research that's been done, especially in regards to gifted children. As far as school issues go, many parents don't know how to support their gifted child properly or what their role should be with the student as a parent of a gifted child. Some parents have unrealistically high expectations for the school, and they get really upset when those needs aren't met. There's a couple different stories and examples of that in the text. Colangelo and Detman in 1981 developed a model that can predict parent stress and conflict when parent and school beliefs about gifted children aren't the same. And when that happens, school issues are likely to be the primary presenting problem in guidance work with parents of gifted children. So some more applications. Parenting concerns. Hackney in 1981 found 5 main concerns among parents of gifted children, and those were parent roles, self-views, family adaptations, neighborhood and community influences, family and school interactions, and they also found that parents may feel anxiety, guilt, and pressure over the responsibility of raising a gifted child and helping them to reach their potential. One of the quotes that I found here was that the pressures these parents feel have some bias in reality, since several longitudinal studies have confirmed the importance of the family context in enabling gifted children to actualize their talents. And also, one of the big parenting concerns has to do with cultural differences as well. In the chapter, it talks about how Chinese parents tend to feel a lot of shame when their gifted child underachieves in school, but there are sometimes the African American children in the United States can get really threatened by high achievement because they think that school achievement will draw their child away from family and community. So, one more application to families of gifted children as far as parental guidance goes. Social and emotional development. Gifted children have unique obstacles that they must overcome. Peer relationships, emotional adjustment, school adjustment, and stress management are some of those unique obstacles. They also have asynchronous development, which we've talked about before. So, academically, they're much more developed than their peers, but emotionally, they are at the same level, which isn't as advanced as their academic development, or they could even be underdeveloped socially because of everything that's going on academically. Parents of gifted children may also benefit from differentiated preventative counseling focused on helping them help their child cope with stressors that are unique to giftedness. Here are some parent guidance counseling models. Most models include these three main parts. The first is an assessment of the child's types and levels of academic abilities. The second is an interpretation of that assessment. The third are recommendations for parents and school programming. And some models also include advocacy with schools or a focus on social and emotional development. And here are three examples of parent guidance counseling models. So the first is Silverman's developmental model. Silverman's developmental model is especially useful with very highly gifted students. Gifted children are super complex, and this model helps parents to create an environment for them while they're trying to figure themselves out. This is also a preventative model for future problems, so they may not have a problem yet, but by using this model, they may be able to prevent problems in the future. The goal of this model is to facilitate optimal development, and the focus is on moral values like altruism and contributions to society, as well as creativity and achievement. When Silverman refers to self in this model, he's referring to both the student and the parent. And a quote where it talked about Silverman's developmental model was that this model is the most appropriate for implementation by psychologists in private practice because it is comprehensive and individualized. There are some concerns of Silverman's developmental model. The first is that the assessment of the child's giftedness and motivation, that can just be a main concern all the time, that the assessment isn't effective or isn't the right assessment. And those other concerns are parental perceptions of competence, family relationships, school concerns, peer relationships, community resources, all of those things. So the Counseling Center in Hamburg. The focus on parents of gifted children who are underachieving or have behavior problems. There are 5 key tasks, and they are giving information, counseling, and guidance to parents and students, helping teachers plan differentiated accommodation for gifted children with behavioral issues, giving information to parents, classes for psychologists and teachers, and information for pediatricians and child guidance centers. In this counseling center, parents will answer background questions, and then they'll attend an initial session where children and parents are interviewed separately, and then counseling decisions are made after the interviews. And there have been some flowcharts that have been developed to guide decisions at the counseling center. And I've included these flowcharts, but they're also in your chapter. So this is basically just a yes or no, and you follow to see what you should do. And this helps to keep the processes and the things that they do standardized at the Counseling Center in Hamburg. And the last one that we're going to talk about for parent guidance is the Ball State School Psychology Clinic. So the goal is to provide comprehensive assessments of gifted students and to assist parents in advocating for appropriate school services. It's implemented by school psychologists in training, and it's not super timely because the evaluations usually last 2 days and they take several hours. They include parent interviews and individualized student testing, and most students would take about 8 tests, but you would be able to take up to 20, which obviously would take a super long time. Tests include evaluations for intelligence, achievement, learning styles, personality, and behavior, but some students also would take some more specialized tests. Every single evaluation had a written report that went along with it, and the clinic supervisor read and assessed every single report and made suggestions. And then the parents were brought in to explain testing and provide recommendations. And recommendations could be curriculum compacting, differentiation of programming, or individual counseling. Family therapy. So this is the second type. We talked about parental guidance. family therapy is grounded in systems theory, and that means that they focus on the interaction between family members. They view family issues as circular and reciprocal, not linear. For example, they want to know how kids affect their parents, but they also want to know how parents affect their kids. And there are very few family therapists that specialize in gifted children. Because a lot of those families are super high functioning. They don't really seem on the outside like they need help. But that's really unfortunate because family therapy can be super effective for all types of families. Some applications to families of gifted children, developmental issues. They can address all of the same issues that parent guidance did, but it's helpful to have a family therapist because they have an excellent understanding of family dynamics. They're familiar with principles of effective parenting, and they have creative and complex counseling strategies. But since they're not trained, especially about gifted children, cognitive assessment, or school issues, they would either need to have that training or have a separate therapist who understands schools and things to be able to help them. As far as family relationships and family transitions, is this is an excellent approach for that. Family transitions and relationships have a huge influence on social and emotional adjustment of all children, but also gifted children. Sibling relationships could be improved because of giftedness. We talk in the chapter about how siblings are affected when their siblings are identified as gifted, or how sometimes the gifted sibling may underachieve in order to, because they feel guilty that they are gifted and their sibling is not. This is also helpful in functional families who are experiencing major life changes, like families who are moving to a new state or who may have had a family member pass away. Family therapy can be very, very helpful in those situations. Okay, so family therapy has a lot that it can do for underachievers. It can involve individual factors. Underachievement can, like low self-esteem or anxiety. It could have to do with school factors like teacher personalities or inappropriate curriculum. And it could have to do with family factors like inconsistent parenting, permissive or authoritarian parenting styles, and parental devaluing of school and work. Usually a mix of those factors is present, but underachievement isn't always a result of family dysfunction. So sometimes family dysfunction is a result of the underachievement, and that's kind of confusing. And because it's so confusing, the interventions are kind of confusing as well. So family therapy alone might not be enough. RIM has the trifocal model, which is an alternate approach. Some people think that parent guidance with a focus on parent-school partnerships is the best approach. Some people think that assessments must be done to decide the best course of action. The reason there are so many different thoughts on this is because really a lot of research hasn't been done. Windorf and Frey talk about problem families versus clinical families. So problem families would be the ones who are marginally functional families that were overwhelmed by a poor school situation. So their services may be things such as assessment and sessions with school faculty to improve programming, but family therapy can be effective there as well. For clinical families, those are families that have dysfunctional interaction patterns, and those families would be treated with structural strategic family therapy, which is something that we're going to talk about in just a second. A quote down there from Moon at the bottom: "It may be possible to reverse underachievement through intervention with the family system, even when the school system is involved in the etiology of the underachievement." As far as applications with twice exceptional children are often very misunderstood, which makes them vulnerable to social and emotional problems. Families can feel helpless and frustrated, so parenting becomes very challenging. Family therapists need to be informed about giftedness and the disability, their disabilities, the students, which is rare that you find a therapist that understands both of those things. And because of this, we don't know a lot about the best practices and interventions. There's a lot in the reading about gay and lesbian individuals who are gifted, and just talking about how they especially need some counseling during the coming out process, and that a lot of people don't consider gifted students who are gay or lesbian to be twice exceptional.